Okay, so now we're going to do completing the square and actually do completing the square step by step. Now I have a previous video that shows you the methods that you'll use for solving once you get it completed, which is really important to go view, because you'll see that the last step says solve as usual. And as usual refers to the video we just did. So make sure you go review that. Okay, now this is a long, long list of instructions. And I always kind of waver back and forth on the best way to do it, because I really don't want to make your life complicated by having to memorize instructions. But hopefully, if you do it enough times, it'll start to make a little bit of sense. Okay? So probably the best way to do this is to just take you through 1 or 3 examples and go from there. Okay? So let's look at a problem like this. All right. So let's try x squared plus 2x is equal to 4. Okay, the first step says, so I'm going to have to, I don't have a better way of doing this than to go up and down, so I'll just deal with it. All right, get the coefficient of x squared equal to 1. The coefficient, remember, is the number in front of the x squared. Right now it's already 1. That means there's nothing in front of the x squared except blank space. Okay, move anything with a variable to the left side and a plain number to the right side. That's already done for us as well. So that's good. Now, the next step says take the coefficient of x, that's the number in front of the x. Okay, so I've got 2. Divide it by 2, square that, and add that number to both sides. Okay, so I have x squared plus 2x plus 1, and that equals 4 plus 1. So I'm basically taking the original equation, x squared plus 2x equals 4, and adding 1 to both sides. Okay, now the reason I'm doing that is because now, and you should recognize this here from the previous video, now I can rewrite that, as step 4 says, make the left side into a perfect square by factoring. So if I look at trying to factor this in the FOIL method, I get x and x, a plus and a plus, and without too much effort I can get a 1 and a 1. So I'll have x plus 1 quantity squared equals 5. Here's a hint. The number when you divide by 2 is always going to be this number here. So if you have a plus 1 there, it's going to be a plus 1 there. Okay. Now solve as usual is the last step, which means if I have this, that it means I'm going to take the square root of both sides, put the plus or minus out front, get x plus 1 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 5. So I have 2 solutions. I have this equals plus root 5, or this equals minus root 5. Subtract 1, and that is one solution, and that is another solution. Okay? Easier said than done, I suppose, but that's why we're going to do a bunch of them, or at least a couple more. Okay? So let's try another one. Try x squared minus 7x minus 1 equals 0. Okay? So the first step, if you can refer back to your notes, said to make the coefficient of the x squared 1. It's already 1, so we're good to go. Check. All right. Then we want to get the numbers on one side and the letters on the other side. Keep the letters over here, move the numbers over there. Now this is kind of an uglier problem. Can I make it a prettier problem for you just to be nice? I could. I'm going to make it a prettier problem for you. Let me change the 7 to an 8. We're not ready for fractions yet. I don't want fractions yet. Does that rock your world? Even make it better. Can't decide what I want. I'm sorry. That's what you get. All right. All right. So now I'm going to take that coefficient. Ah, where'd you go? I actually wanted you there. I'm going to take the coefficient of the x, which is negative 8. I'm going to divide it by 2. And then I'm going to square that. I'm going to add that number to both sides of my equation. So I had this. So now I'm going to do this. Okay. Now I learned earlier, but in case I forgot, that whatever this number is here is going to be this number here. And if I'm ever not sure, I can always check. You know, I could go over here and FOIL it out. X squared minus 4x minus 4x plus 16. X squared minus 8x plus 16, and I'm good to go. So that's excellent. And now I believe the last step says solve as usual. Which means I'll take the square root of both sides, put the plus or minus out front. X minus 4 equals plus or minus root 17. So I've got two solutions. This one equals plus 17, root 17, and this one equals minus root 17. Adding 4 to both sides. So I've got that, and then I've got that. And those are going to be both of my two solutions. Excellent. Now, on some homework assignments, they'll actually say, just give me the number I'm going to add to both sides of the equation. So not every single homework problem usually is going to be to do this whole process. A lot of times the homework problems are just going to ask for what number do I add to both sides of the equation. In that case, you would say 16. Okay. So it might seem scary, but there's actually not as many problems as you might think there could be. So let me do one more. It's kind of a tricky one. Let's go with 2x squared minus 8x plus 3 equals 0. All right. Now the first step was to make sure the coefficient of x squared is 1. Right now it's 2. So to get rid of that, I'm going to need to divide everything in here by 2. So that'll give me x squared minus 4x plus 3 halves. Oops, equals 0. Okay. So now I want to get all the numbers on one side and all the x's on the other. And don't worry about the fact that that's a fraction. We'll deal with it later. So I'm going to take this number here, negative 4, divide it by 2, and then I'm going to square that number. And again, if you're not going this fast, that's totally okay. I've just been doing this longer. And then I'm going to add that 4 to both sides. So on the left, I've got a perfect square term. And I always remember that that minus 2 there, whatever that number is, that first time when I divide by 2, that's the number that's going there. Now let's take a look at this. If I have 4, same as 4 over 1, and I need a common denominator of 2. I've got 8 halves. So minus 3 halves plus 8 halves. So that's going to be 5 halves. Now I continue to solve, quote, as usual, taking the square root of both sides and getting x minus 2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 5 over 2. All kinds of excitement. Now this is a really long problem, so if you're getting kind of exhausted, that's okay. It happens. Okay, so I'm going to separate this out. So I've got, oh, you know what I'm going to do before I separate it out? Let me continue to simplify it. Now I've got plus or minus the square root of 5 over the square root of 2. Now remember, it's impolite to leave radicals, or radicals in the denominator, irrationals, whatever, the thingy with the root sign in the denominator. So remember to get that out and multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 2. If you don't remember that, that's a whole other lesson. So got on the top root 10 over 2. Now I can break it out. So equals plus root 10 over 2 or minus root 10 over 2. I add 2 to both sides. And then this. And again, I feel like I'm going kind of fast, and I think it's because I'm getting tired. So Now remember, 2 is really 2 over 1. I want to have a common denominator of 2 to go with that. It's going to be 4 over 2. Like that. So finally I've got 10 plus the square root, or 4 plus the square root of 10 over 2. And over here, similarly, I have 4 minus the square root of 10 over 2. And those are my 2 answers. And I know they're not pretty, but that's as good as it's going to get. This is probably the worst problem that you could see, is something that's this complicated, unless it has imaginary numbers in it or something. A couple of notes on simplifying. Don't take a good answer and turn it into a bad answer, please, because you worked so hard to get this answer. Please don't mess it up. For example, if I have, say, 6 plus, 4 square root of 3 over 2. Remember, I can simplify it. If I can cross it out, if I can, let's try this out again. If I can factor it out, I can cross it out. So on the top, I can factor out a 2, right? And that winds me up with a 3, like that, and a 2 root 3. So since I was able to factor a 2 out of the top, I can cross those 2's out and end up with 3 plus 2 root 3. So that's good. Now if I had something like this, though, I can't factor a 2 out of the top, right? Because if I did, I'd have a 3 here, and then I'd end up with like a 5 halves or something here. But I can't pull a 2 out of that 5. So I have to leave it. This would be considered a final answer. Don't go in here and start crossing things out, because they don't cross out. If you can't factor it out of the top, you can't cross it out. Also, don't lose an opportunity to reduce a radical. So I'm going to stick with dividing by 2 because that's easy. So if I had something like this, remember that the root 24 is 4 times 6. So that would come out to 2 root 6. And now I'm in a situation again where I can factor a 2 out of the top. And since I can factor it out, I can indeed cross it out and get a beautiful answer. So again, don't overdo it. If you get an answer like this, don't oversimplify when you shouldn't be to ruin a good answer. And similarly, don't take an answer that is so close to perfect and then not get the points for it because you forget to simplify it all the way down.